Excuse me, I'm Jerry Lindner, and this is State of the Town, a monthly show when we meet with our first selectman, Mary Glassman, to get brought up on the state of the town. The reason I'm laughing, we do this once a month to get brought up on the state of the town, and I just learned that Mary talks to each of her children daily, and I think that is so, excuse me, sweet and old-fashioned. And I was just saying, how do your kids feel about that? So, well, congratulations on that. That's just wonderful. And I don't care if they hate it. Keep it up. Okay, I'm going to try it.
Try
it. My daughter will say, Dad,
is everything okay?
She'll just text me, and she'll say, stop it.
Well, as your kids, welcome, first of all, to Town Hall and SCTV. Welcome, and thanks for joining us. And as your kids get older and move away, 2 of mine are in California, living and working, and 1 is in Washington, D.C. You miss them, and I miss having them in Simsbury, and so I just check in.
Well, I think that's wonderful. I did not realize then. So how did Andy escape? Because it couldn't have been consensual pairing if you have kids that age, right? So you were underage when you and Andy got married?
There you go. That's right.
Okay, but, well, I guess politically, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought that issue up.
But talking about something.
Andy's not running for anything.
That's right.
Speaking of running things, election is passed.
Election's passed, and thanks to our registrars. I want to just give a shout out to Karen Cortez and Marge Dashenko. Marge will be retiring.
Really?
With the town this year, so we want to thank Marge and wish her well.
You can't do that.
I know.
They're one and the same, registrar and chief.
I know.
How many years?
Trying to think of how many years. I'm not sure how many years it's been
I
with
know
the town, but I know
at
her
least
service
90, right,
with
Marge?
the town and the state. She was previously worked up at the Capitol, so we wish her well, and we're sorry to lose her. And they did a terrific job. We had same-day registration, so if you weren't registered to vote for the first time, state law said you could come down to Town Hall and register same day of the election day and vote, and we had 106 people who took advantage of that. So congratulations to all our new voters.
When they do surveys or whatever, what polling, was there a majority characteristic about them? I mean, age-wise, or was it a mix?
A mix.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it worked well, and our registrars did a great job, and congratulations to all our newly elected officials. And representing Simsbury, re-elected were Senator Witkos and Representative Hampton, and congratulations to both of them. We look forward to having them bring back a lot of money to the town of Simsbury.
The gubernatorial race, not just the gubernatorial, but the statewide, so negative, so
yeah, I think that's
nasty.
What we hear.
It was just like, oh, please.
And I wish I could get more of our residents to give us some feedback, but I think that the negativity of the campaigns has reached an all-time high.
Oh,
and I hope that doesn't discourage people from voting. I did talk to a couple people who said they were not going to vote because they were totally disgusted by what they were seeing. So those of us in public office and public service, we want you to vote. We want you to vote. Come out and vote on how we're doing, and we want our voters to have choices in elections. That's what it's about. And it's harder and harder to get people to run for office or to get involved in local office. So, wish we could have the voters speak out against negativity and negative campaigns, because it really just discourages the process.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And I mean, they're difficult issues. I mean, there are no perfect solutions. So you would like to hear some specifics. What is being proposed, and how is it going to work, so that you could reason through some of it. Otherwise, it's just you don't want to listen to anybody.
And you don't know who to believe. You get information that says one thing and it's not true, and there's not a lot of forums to explain what the facts are, so the voters can make those choices. So if anyone has any suggestions out there, I'm all open to hearing.
Well, I don't know, because the other thing I did think, and I wasn't thinking it just hit me, because I read an article on something historically way back, and I don't know, at the beginning of our nation, and there was, it just wasn't in my mind. It was like, how do we get here where things are so negative? Talk about negative. they killed people. I mean, they lied. They had people have accidents. I mean, it's not a glorious past.
No.
So maybe it's no worse than it was.
There you go.
It's broadcast now more easily. So anyhow, that one's over and done. Let's see. A new thing picking up is leaf collection. There are some rules on leaf collection, I think.
Yeah, so it's fall, and no new rules, but a new tool for our residents. We do pick up, and you have to bag your leaves and leave them on the side of your property. And we now have, you can go online on www.simsbury-ct.gov. Enter
Oh, wait a minute,
in your
let's do that again.
www.simsbury-ct.gov.
CT for Connecticut.gov. Okay.
And go on leaf collection, click on Public Works, and you can enter your street address, and it will tell you exactly when leaves will be picked up on your street.
And they have to be biodegradable paper bags,
yes,
right?
and most department stores sell the large bags that are biodegradable for leaf collection. So,
okay, that's good.
It's a service that we offer to our residents. There are not a lot of residents that take advantage of it. A lot of folks have a lot of large property and then just break it up and compost. So it is a service, and take advantage of it.
Well, we compost, and I'm waiting. Some of the early leaves I've mulched, and now those oaks. Good Lord, they hold on forever, and it's like, do I wait
I know.
and risk them being covered by snow?
Well, there you go.
I cleaned out some gutters the other day, and I looked out this morning from the second floor window. It's like I never touched them,
Well,
so.
we got to remind our residents, be careful when you do clean out gutters, and make sure that you follow all the rules, and be careful with ladders. Don't be alone, and if it's too high, please don't do it yourself.
Okay, well, I fell off a ladder, and I was alone, but when I knew I was falling, I kind of threw myself toward an azalea bush. So I came out pretty well.
Yeah,
the azalea bush
thank you for
has
sharing,
been
because
pruned.
that's not a good. It's not a
Well,
good
you know
thing
what
to do.
happens? The moles were in the flower bed where I had the ladder, so I tested it. It seemed fine.
And we have a lot of accidents every year with folks who fall off ladders, so we can't remind people enough. Just be very careful.
Yeah, well, when I got up to the top, the higher up you get, physics, if it's not equally distributed, the more you're putting on that. So I don't know, maybe I killed the mole. Maybe I squashed him at the last minute or something, but all of a sudden,
You were tilting.
that side of the ladder dropped. Now, I didn't want to be seen hanging onto the gutter.
No, I don't think that would be a good
So
look.
I thought I'll just be in the bush. We'll
There
do
you
our
go.
thing. So that reminded me of something else. So ladders,
So,
leaves.
Also, fall is Veterans Day ceremonies.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot going on
Lovely
this year. It seemed
ceremony. I
like
want to thank the veterans of foreign wars, the American Legion, and the VFW Ladies Auxiliary. We had a wonderful ceremony over at Eno. And at the ceremony, we had an update on the Veterans Memorial.
Oh,
And,
let's talk about that. There is the final location.
There is
now.
the final location. The town donated to the American Legion and the VFW the location right at the entrance to Simsbury Library. So
I
it'll be
thought that was wetlands.
right on Hot Meadow Street, so very visible for our residents, so that anyone driving by can see the town's visible support of our veterans. We have a veterans liaison in town, Sean Kimball. We have we have discounts, tax discounts the town adopted for our veterans. We work very closely with Congresswoman Estes' office to provide services. So I'm very proud that Simsbury is a very strong supporter of our veterans. But we can do more, and I think that this Veterans Memorial will be a good symbol. And they're only halfway there, so if you want to make a donation, now's the time.
Well, I misunderstood. We did make a donation for
thank
like
you.
a brick or
Yes.
whatever it is. And it was just our names on it. And I'm glad you reminded me because I haven't responded. I forgot to. But they came back and they said it can only be veterans' names
Yes.
on the brick.
So it's different. It's a different fundraiser than some folks might be used to, where you donate a brick and your name the donor's name goes on it. This is a veterans memorial, and only the names of veterans will be on the pavers.
So my name gets to go on,
Your
but
name.
Jan's name doesn't get to go
That's
on.
right.
Which raises another question. Years ago, I stopped to read the plaque that has all the veterans
Mm-hmm.
here in Town Hall. and I didn't see my name. Then I thought, well, how would they know that? Because I wasn't living here when I was in the service. So I registered someplace. I don't think they add people's names to that anymore. My name's still not up there.
I have to look and see which plaque you're talking about, but I know.
Well, there's more than one. They're
well,
like flat brown
yeah.
ones with little brass.
Well,
things
I know that you're exactly right. We found while we were trying to be supportive and send items to the troops and find out who was serving from Simsbury so we could send cards. That information is not available to the town. And we actually don't know unless folks tell us that they are serving and make their names available to us. So it's very confidential, which I can respect, but it does make it hard for us to be supportive. So we do rely on folks to tell us
Well, that's good to
when
know.
they're being
So
deployed.
it's
So that may be something
The
that
effort
folks
is
don't know.
made, and yet it's hard to get it. Huh.
Yes, it is. And,
So everybody call in.
yeah,
Tell Mary,
if you
hey,
know
I'm a
of
vet.
a veteran who's serving, or a soldier, a man or a woman who's serving our country, and they would like to receive letters or support, we do the annual fundraiser every year
Cigarettes.
for the canine fundraiser that Officer Rudowitz will start soon,
Who's
which
that?
is Officer Rudowitz, our canine control, animal control
Can you
officer.
say that slowly? I can't repeat
Officer
it.
Rudowitz.
Officer Rudowitz. I thought it was all one name.
Nope.
Officer
Two names.
Rudowitz.
Officer Rudowitz. Mark
I love
Rudowitz.
it. Officer
And
Rudowitz.
he does a drive to support the animals in the military. And so we'll often send, we've been growing that donation. We work with the Fidelco Guide Dog
Oh, yeah.
Foundation and send over supportive armor and treats and food and
Cigarettes. Oh,
things
no,
to-
dogs
to
don't
dogs.
smoke
No.
cigarettes. No.
Yeah. So-
And I guess we don't do cigarettes in the service anymore either. I don't
think-
know.
I don't know. It's not good for you, so I don't.
Of course it's not good for you. No.
We also are
Give 'em to the
celebrating
enemy.
at the ceremony, veteran ceremony. We did acknowledge that we have 3 veterans who have been members of the American Legion in Simsbury for 70 years. And they are Wesley Case, Dick Dart, and Joanna Vincent. So congratulations to
I saw
the 3 of
Joanna's
them.
picture. Boy, I thought, no way is
It's hard
she
to believe.
that age. No.
So what? As if it
Well,
wasn't
they
enough.
all look good.
They
but
look great, and they're doing well, thank goodness. And not only did they serve our country, they continue to serve our community. They're very active, and we're really blessed to have those treasures in our town.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that picture of Joanna, the look in her eye,
Yeah,
I
they
thought,
look great.
I don't think I'd want to meet her in a dark alley yet today. You know,
Good for them.
She must have killed a good number of
Congratulations to
Nazis
them.
or whatever. So, well, you mentioned a couple other things. You mentioned the service at Eno,
Yes.
which brings to mind Eno, which brings to mind Senior Center, and I know that thing's been going on. The question, I think the one way out there was ruled out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the town's struggling with where to put senior center / community center. And I think we've all agreed that really in this day and age, our seniors are very vibrant. There's the days of the traditional senior center where folks went to one place and stayed is over. You know, our seniors are very active. They take part in our library programs, our park and rec programs, and it's really more of a community center. So I think there was consensus to start to refer to our discussions as the community center. And we did make it very clear that any future community center would be located in the center of town, because we've done a lot of studies and planning for to get that synergy of keeping things in the center of town.
Yeah.
And we did rule out Bushy Hill Road and Stratton Brook as a site, and sent it back to the Public Building Committee, and that's chaired by Dick Ostap. They did study the area, and there's actually land in the center of town that is owned by the state of Connecticut that the town is interested in. And so this would be part of the commuter lot that's actually near Eno, very close to Eno, and that is located near True Value. And
Yeah.
I think that's really an exciting option. I had agreement from the board that I'm authorized to now work with the state of Connecticut and to begin to find out what the process would be. I think it's really exciting that when you look at building a community center in the center of town, the fact that it would be close to Eno and utilize some of the facility there, the fact that it's close to the Performing Arts Center and maybe utilize some synergies there. I think it's very exciting. And
Mary, because I know you were involved with both of them, as was I, on the charrettes.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, I don't know if it was the latter or the first, right in that location proposed a building of size for community activity.
And it really frustrates me when I hear people say, well, we do studies. Well, I can tell you, we are so blessed that this town is supportive of planning in our community, because those proactive planning tools have really had tremendous results. For example, the fact that the new zone change for the Simsbury Center, which says no building can be built in the center of town taller than Eno Hall, will save this community for the future, because without that regulation, we could have had very large buildings in the center of town, which would really change the location. The Hartford Insurance, because we partnered with them to do a study in planning, they have a number of very strong leads that are only interested in Simsbury because of the planning that we've done. And I can go on and on. The permits, we just talked about the town, we have $200,000 more in permits, which is more than we've had. Rich Switzky can't remember, our former engineer, couldn't remember.
Wait, didn't he retire?
Yeah, but
Rich just can't remember.
Rich can't. We can, there's never been a time, we are at an all-time high for economic development projects in Simsbury. And that's a direct result of, we have a reputation for being proactive in planning, of making sure the regulations, the process is smooth, and making sure that we build consensus. And it's a credit to our residents who support us doing good planning to make sure we get a good product.
And so many years ago, that was not our reputation.
No.
And you, in your different administrations, have, you've made a major contribution to that.
You.
No, you have. I think everybody acknowledges that.
I think people who may be new to town may think we've always done it this way, but
God.
We had developers come to our meetings publicly and say, I'm not doing business with Simsbury because they are so business unfriendly.
Yeah, right. And you'd
do not hear that now.
You would have different commissions disagreeing with one another, which brings one that's in focus because, as part of the Flower Bridge, we spoke to the Board of Finance to endorse what the Board of Selectmen and Planning and Zoning had said relative to Betty Hudson's house by the old Drake Hill Flower Bridge.
That's right.
And there's a perfect example where, you can blow it by trying to be like everybody else, and then you're like nobody, and you have no unique marketable niche. And it may take time then to find the ones that fit exactly. But they fit because you don't exist anyplace else.
Interesting story. I want to thank the Flower Bridge for all they do. There's not a day goes by when I don't go by the bridge and see people.
Well, that's what you call your kids, right?
Or right, having weddings, or volunteers working on the flowers there, or people taking pictures, or kids hanging out and having lunch. And it was actually a member, and I won't disclose who it was because I don't have a permission, but who emailed me and said, Mary, the house at One Old Bridge is for sale. Why doesn't the town buy it?
Right.
And at that time, I didn't know it was for sale. The sign hadn't been up, and no one had contacted my office to say it was for sale. So I immediately went over and took our staff over, and we looked at it. And we looked at the Simsbury Center charrette, which said this is a unique piece of property that is in the center of town that the town doesn't own. There's the only access to the river in the center of town is on Riverside Road, which is on land the town doesn't own.
Right.
And people may be shocked to know that if you launch your boat there, we don't own it. The town doesn't have any access in the center of town to our river. It was just such an exciting opportunity. We did go through an extensive review and search, and did have discussions with the Board of Selectmen in executive session first to see if there was interest, and then I did get authority to negotiate, and we did we did negotiate on a price of $150,000, which I think is a very fair price. The building is not what we need, so we're going to need to demolish the building and decide as a community what we want to do with the property. But how exciting for the town, and not just for today.
No,
but
absolutely.
for tomorrow, for next generations. And once you pass up that opportunity, timing and opportunity don't always
That's right.
go together, and we didn't, when we were planning our budgets and thinking about what the town was going to be looking at, we didn't think there would be any opportunity to buy river access in center town. It wasn't something that was on our radar, but
years
fortunately
back,
the town supports moving quickly when there's an opportunity.
yeah, and years back there was talk about, accessing the river, part of the charrettes and all, and the
Yes.
idea was, let's go through town-owned property. Well, so much of that is wetlands.
It's wet.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
we've hiked it a number of times and had to turn around, literally sunk into our knees, when it was during the spring. So you think, well, first of all, it'd be hard to get permits to elevate something to get there. And if you could, that's
even.
kind of destructive of nature. So this one, especially with the Hop Brook entering right there, which gives a
Exactly.
very gradual
Exactly.
entrance to the river, it's just ideal. And the other thing, I if you'll let me personally like to say to the Board of Finance, they have a difficult job. I mean, they're often
Absolutely.
viewed as, the naysayers. You guys just did, in my mind, an outstanding job of discussing the issue. Obviously, you'd all done your homework. They knew Lisa was there to
Yeah.
give the perspective of the Board of Selectmen. Lisa Hebner.
Yes.
And who's the guy that's there now? There was somebody else there. Oh, finance. I think it was from finance. Yeah, new finance
Yes, our
guy.
new finance
We
director.
should talk to him sometime. So-
Yes, let's bring him on.
Okay,
That'd
so
be great.
but they did a great job explaining how they have to view trade-offs.
Absolutely.
And it was so productive. It was so educational. They were so comprehensive in the pros and the cons. I just came out of there feeling like they should all get a special. Well, and they voted unanimously. Yes.
Yes, which is great. And, I really thank the Board of Finance. I think they worked very closely with me this year to make sure we didn't raise taxes. We actually reduced the mill rate, which I think it was key. We had always, under the previous Board of Finance, we had been underestimating our tax collection rate, which means we had to raise taxes to cover that. So, they changed some assumptions, which I think was a credit to them. Number two, because of our increases in economic development, we actually brought in $671,000 more in revenue this year
Wow.
than we had anticipated. So while we were asking for $150,000 for the purchase of the property, it is offset by the amount of additional revenue.
Well, that was it. And
So
then the
that
other
was-
thing is, we used to, for a number of years, actually, I think it was when Main Street was still involved in the bridge. Yes, because I was there then. And so what we had done was a brochure after talking to all of the restaurants that was down at the bridge. So people who had come from out of town, which there are more and more and more and more now.
Exactly.
And they would ask you, they say, is there some place I can get a sandwich, or,
Exactly.
What kind of place? So we now are, for next season, we'll have that again. We've started to
Great.
talk to all the places. And I mean, for $150,000, I mean, the stuff for our local business people and the increase in tax revenue, it's a no-brainer. Poof,
Right.
it pays for it like that.
So we plan to close by the end of November, and once we officially own the property, we'll begin some public dialogues and discussions and seek input into what we should do with the property. Initially, we're looking at what the regulatory process is, and we do want to honor Betty Hudson and her family for working with the town and negotiating with us, and I think I would like to see it named the Hudson River Park.
Well,
So we'll have some
or
conversations
the other
about
thing,
that.
I thought it was like Betty's Beach. Or also, Fran lived there, Betty and Fran's beach.
There you go. We have to
that'd be
think of
so
something
cool.
fitting. And it's been really exciting hearing from some of our residents about what they remember about the property. And I did hear from one resident who told me that it used to be the Simsbury Canoe Club there. And so we're doing a little research to try to find out more about it. And maybe there's some history repeating itself that we can do. Maybe we can look at see what the original structure looked like. Maybe there's a way to save part of the structure. We want to respect our history and yet prepare for the future. So anyone who has any memories of that or thoughts, please let me know. And really looking forward to hearing some discussion.
I have visited Betty and Fran a number of times when they were living there. The house is charming, but I don't see that it's marketable for anything. I mean, it would be every other year. I mean, it might as well be on stilts because the water would come right up to road level, and the whole bottom floor in the back would be underwater.
And it wasn't too long ago, you recall, we evacuated everyone on Riverside Road because it is in the floodplain, and the house at One Old Bridge is 100% in the floodplain.
Right.
And our public policy is to remove people from living in the floodplain if we can. So not only is this a good policy and a good future acquisition for the town, but it honors our public safety goals, which is to not have people living in harm's way, which is what that residential building really had become, as we've seen.
Well, as always, we run out of time, but Jan and I did the Tanager Hill hike on Saturday.
Oh, great.
And I know the Simsbury Land Trust, they're down to still 25,000 before the end of the month.
If anyone's interested in hearing more about their last fundraising efforts, please call the Simsbury Land Trust. They're close.
And that property is fantastic. It's like another world when you get up there, and such variety. And I didn't see a mountain lion was my only disappointment, or scat. Well, I did see scat, but I don't think it came from a mountain lion.
I hope not.
Well, I don't know. Anyhow, I guess, they have all these birds, and we used to live on the mountain, and I thought they were Baltimore Orioles. But these orange things would fly through the yard, and they're tanagers. I mean, that's really cool.
I learned something today.
Okay, well, I learned a lot today, as I always do. And Mary, thank you so
Jerry.
much.
Thank you.
And kids, please, just act like you're really glad to get our phone call. And we'll see you all again next month on State of the Town. You talk to him every day?
Yeah, I do. Don't you?
That's so old-fashioned.
I know.
That's so sweet.
Oh.
I bet they hate it.
They hate it.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.